Yeah, Cedric, that heat, no joke.
Mm-hmm. No.
Nice you have it burning there on the desk.
Yes. And yes, it will feel kind of like that as well. But there's also going to be the fire threat that's out there as well.
But
We need some rain.
Yeah, we do need some. Listen, we need some rain to cover both the heat and the fire threat. And sadly, I don't have a ton in the forecast. There may be some, but not a ton. So we're going to start somewhere, and maybe we can build on that this week here. As we get outside and show you what's going on, here's a live view outside the ABC Forest Studios. Look at that blue sky. Yeah, hardly a cloud in the sky out there for us. A little bit of a breeze. That breeze, of course, makes it feel a little better, but it's not good news because it also helps to aid into that fire threat for us here. So we're continuing to keep an eye on that there. But again, you can see a pretty nice afternoon, except for it's already 91 degrees outside. So these temperatures are warming up fast across the area. Here's a look at some of the other numbers in the area. 86 degrees. Good afternoon to you in Price. We've got 80 in Heber, 80 in Logan, 88 degrees in Delta. Milford sitting at 88 degrees as well. We've got temperatures around 86 in Escalante, 90 degrees in Hanksville, and 89 degrees currently in St. George. So let's talk about your high temperatures today because, yes, it's going to be hot. But, folks, it is late July, so it is expected to be hot. In fact, this is typically our average hottest period of the year during this time frame. So it's not unusual for it to be this warm. So we'll deal with what I like to call the typical mill heat that we have out there for you for late July, early August. 96 degrees in Salt Lake City today, 97 in Ogden, 88 in Park Valley, about 88 degrees expected in Park City, 93 in Heber, 98 in Spanish Fork. So, yeah, it's going to be a warm day. There's no doubt about it. How about our friends near Castledale? 101 for your high temperature today, 94 in Gunnison, 94 degrees in Fillmore, 95 as you get towards the Richfield area. Looking a little farther to the south, about 101 in Hanksville, 92 in Blanding, 92 in Escalante, 92 in Beaver, and also about 104 in St. George. So let's talk about this weather pattern because, as I mentioned, it's the typical run-of-the-mill heat. But here's the deal. We're on the western edge of the big heat dome. So just to our west, there's actually some cool air coming into the Pacific Northwest. But here's the story. As you look off to the east, the center of that heat dome is actually situated over the lower Mississippi River Valley instead of out west. So that means the greatest heat, where it's hotter, is actually over the upper Midwest, the Mississippi River, and the East Coast, which means, yeah, it's hot here, but it's not as hot as it could be, which is where they're dealing with some of the big-time heat. You can really see this here as we look at today's heat risk map. Notice here across the Beehive State, we've got the yellow and oranges. That's a level 1 and 2 out of 4 when it comes to the heat risk. So, yeah, it's hot, but it's not horrible. Now, you get just to the east of the Mississippi River, oh, it gets bad out there, folks. Notice the red, fairly widespread from Chicago all the way down through St. Louis, over towards Atlanta and the East Coast. Yeah, even some purple showing up. That's the highest edge of the heat risk map, and that means that you've got some excessive heat. So when we look at the heat alerts, wow. Most of the eastern two-thirds of the country underneath some type of heat alert, whether it's a heat advisory or an even more impressive extreme heat warning that we have up for places like Omaha over towards, let's say, Des Moines, Iowa, where we're going to be dealing with, again, some of that corn sweat where they get that problem going on. The Mississippi River, you got all that humidity coming off of the river there. And then, of course, the Carolinas and into Florida. For us, we're watching out for that critical fire threat, hot temperatures, low humidity, dry vegetation, and we add in the gusty southwesterly winds. So our friends in southwest Utah, we're worried about being aware of that potential threat there with the fires. As far as rain goes, maybe a high-based mountain shower showing up the next few days, but for the most part, we're going to stay dry here until probably the second half of the week. That's where this low pressure may tug up a little bit more moisture. You can see that in the moisture tracker here. Dry air in place across the area for now, but by Thursday, Friday, we may get a little moisture sneaking in the eastern and southern portions of the state before dry air takes over again this weekend. Not a lot of rain, but the model's hint continues still for at least a few spotty showers out there. But the overall theme is for it to remain well below average when it comes to precipitation around here. So St. George, 104, 105. Yeah, it's going to be hot, but it's also going to be dry until maybe the end of the week. The Wasatch Front, we've got breezy sunshine, temperatures going from the mid to the upper 90s out there. Maybe a slight chance of a shower by the end of the week.